Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of Michael, and today we're going to be talking about...
Today we'll be making one of my favorite soups.
Welcome to the JR72 Challenge.
I am Animated Mel, and I am your mental and wellness coach for
As always, perfection is not needed, but consistency.
We must first lovingly accept what is. You can't heal a body you hate.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you all for coming. This community is designed to support you in that time. It's really to utilize when things are bad and when you're at your lowest.
I started to learn about emotions. I started to learn about finding root causes, right? Starting to understand addiction and how addiction is not, once again, the issue, that we are using a negative stimulus as a coping mechanism.
Part of my mission is to make sure people know that everything we need comes in a natural form. It's already here for us.
I am determined. I am strong. And I am ready.
We must first lovingly accept what is. I often say, you can't heal a body you hate.
This is healthy blood cells. And that's what we're aiming for. So you can see the contrast. Okay? What you do matters.
Thank you all for coming. Be blessed.
We're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive. I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible. Hello. Thank you, everybody, for joining me this evening. Happy Martin Luther King's Day, Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. MLK Day. Happy MLK Day. These holidays be sneaking up on me. We got a new holiday because a president passed away, Jimmy Carter, I think it was. So now I think the 9th of January is a new holiday. And today's MLK Day. So when you start your year off, you get a couple national holidays off top. Let me know you can hear me and see me good so we can get going tonight. Tonight, we are going to be looking at how to lose weight without fasting. Or maybe we can look at it from the perspective, can we lose weight with just diet? And I'm going to talk about what I have personally learned from my experience. All right. Okay, so we're good to go. All right, so it's interesting when I think sometimes when you teach and you talk about a particular topic so much, you get so ingrained in something, an area. You see a lot of benefit there. You see progress there. The people in your community are asking you about this. There's very other important elements that can kind of fall by the wayside. And here's the problem that I'm seeing with what I'm doing is I'm not giving enough attention. I'm not putting a spotlight enough on areas of this journey where you guys can put a lot of energy if you want to get similar outcomes. Fasting is not the only thing available, okay? So when we talk about fasting, actually, your dietary habits have more of an impact than, well, I'll say is your dietary habits as it relates specifically to weight loss and maintenance of weight are going to have a bigger impact than the fasting. Because what happens is you could fast, you could lose a lot of weight real quick, but you're not going to be able to maintain it without proper diet. So years ago, I asked myself, well, what is a balanced diet? What does that look like? And can you use a balanced diet to lose weight or to get healthy? I'm going to tell you guys this part first because I don't want to make it seem like diet is a magic bullet, right? Fasting's not a magic bullet. Diet is not a magic bullet. So it doesn't matter what dietary strategy you're using. You cannot outrun your bad habits. Okay. So if you have consumed toxic things, we'll just say consumed toxic things in the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you can't just put a good diet on top of it. We always got to go and we got to clean up our bad history with detoxification, very specific detoxification. We're not talking about detox tonight, but I just want to make sure we understand that. So this is still just one piece of the puzzle. This is not the whole game. But just like with fasting, there's other elements and tools that have to be utilized. But this is why we talk about lifestyle change, because it's not just one thing. It's not just one therapy. All right. So let's see. Give me 1 second. I put some notes down for you guys. I've been doing notes recently, which just I think helps keep the content more streamlined and concise. If you all have questions, by the way, you could throw them in the chat. I'm going to ask that if you have questions that you urgently want me to respond to, make sure to do a super chat, y'all. Just do a super chat. I'm not going to be answering. I'm probably not going to answer every single question. But if you super chat, I'll make sure to answer all of those. So whether you have a question now or if you have a question along the way, and then other than that, you can always just put your question in the chat, and I'll kind of skim it and we'll respond to what we respond to. But the first thing I kind of wanted to do was like define what diet is. So there's many different ways to define diet. A traditional definition would be the kinds of foods and drink that a person or animal or community regularly consumes. So it's like, what do you regularly consume? This is what your diet consists of. I personally like to expand on that definition and add the idea that the diet is more than just food. It also includes what we consume as it relates to air quality, water, sunlight, as well as content that we consume. So your overall consumption is your diet. And it's important to understand that, yes, what we put in our mouth physically probably has the greatest impact as it relates to, weight loss. But don't think that what you consume here with your mind or with your ears or with your eyes also doesn't have an impact, because we are a beautifully designed symphony. Okay. And in a symphony, you have all of these instruments and you have the conductor and they all play in unison in order for the song and the sound to be amazing and pleasurable. If anyone in the symphony, whether it's an entire section or if it's just one individual person in the symphony, if they're playing offbeat, out of rhythm, the tone is wrong, whatever, it will be easy to hear. It'll be easy to identify something's not right, and it will change. It will start to sound like discord. So we have to look at our body as a symphony. And of course, what you see and what you constantly consume, what you hear, and also what you tell yourself. When we talk about like positive self-talk or negative self-talk, all of these things has an impact on the symphony, the song that's being played, and whether it's in alignment with what you want, your goals, or if it's going to be in discord. So we're going to talk a lot about food today, but just keep in mind that your consumption is holistic. All right. And now one thing that I will say as it relates to like sunlight, I get a lot of people saying that they have vitamin D deficiencies. And I always tell you guys, create a prescription for yourself. Go outside and get, 15 minutes of sunlight a day. Expose as much skin as you can to sunlight. I know that we're during the winter months right now, so it's not as easy to necessarily go outside and have like skin exposed. But even just if you have a sunny window or something like that, being able to get that sun energy, because just a little bit of sun exposure is going to increase your vitamin D levels. And because we're so depleted, it can increase your vitamin D levels up to 90%. You don't have to take a pill. You don't have to take a supplement. That's going to support immune function, overall health, which is going to help with the detoxification, and it's going to help to boost any benefits you're going to get from proper dietary strategy. One thing that's important to understand about diet, and I'm glad I thought of this up front. If you have low functioning systems, organs, if you have hormonal imbalances, yes, the diet will slowly start to help impact that and increase, the production and the efficiency of these things. But you can't expect to get the same results. Like if you have a low functioning liver, you can't expect to get the same results as someone who has a high functioning liver. Meaning your results may vary based on where your body is right now. And we're not here to compare to anybody else, because I know that's often what we want to do. Okay, I tried this diet. I did this thing for a period of time. Well, how did it work for you? How did it work for you? How did it work for you? And then we start comparing. Well, it didn't work like that for me. Well, maybe your liver is low functioning, or maybe you don't have a gallbladder, or maybe you have hormonal differences. Okay. So I don't think it's necessarily the best idea to try to compare like what other people are getting, like their results. It's important to maybe have your own food diary and look at how is this food affecting you as an individual. That's the only thing that matters. Okay. Now we can teach certain things from a standpoint of like sending you in the right general direction, but it's really always going to be up to you as an individual to make sure that what you're doing is optimized. So you can't kind of throw your brain out the window and just listen. You have to actively do this. Okay. It's a thing. All right. So what's the concept of a balanced diet? This is the question that I ask myself. There's so many different dietary strategies out there. What does that mean, a balanced diet? And I think that a balanced diet is often shaped by like your cultural and regional factors. There's historical factors involved. Everybody is going to have a different idea of like what a balanced diet is, depending on where you grew up, your environment, and your belief system. Okay. But we can look at some cultures of people who traditionally get better outcomes to kind of start to understand what a balanced diet might look like. And so going outside of yourself is kind of necessary for this task. And the Okinawans, I don't know how to say their names. Okinawans. Yeah, the Okinawans. Got it. They primarily consume like local foods. Like we're talking about people who have local farms. I guess imagine like a blue zone, or imagine like a farmer's market where you have people in the community, locally in the community, that grow food. Maybe think like co-ops where people locally grow and maintain their own food. There's no mass production going on, not in a traditional sense where you've got these warehouses, these plants, these huge farms. You're not using like pesticides on the food. You're not genetically modifying the food. I would imagine a lot of the food that they grow is heirloom. It's just natural food. Also, I would imagine that because they're not importing a lot of stuff, if they're eating locally, what does that mean? It means that you're not preserving the food. And also a big point is when you eat locally, the food adapts to the environment that it's in. Okay. There may be specific things, nutrients, minerals, whatever, that's in local food that is specifically based on like the needs of the local people. I'm going to say that again. When you eat local food, the food itself may contain specific nutrients, minerals, things that are depleted in the local region. Those foods may contain those things. So when you try to import foods from other regions, the plants have different tasks. Now, this is one of those things that you probably will never really hear, because a lot of people don't get deep enough. This comes from my understanding of gardening and the beauty of plants. So one thing I want you guys to understand about plants, I know that we think of plants, or we're taught that plants are just plants. They're just, they're living. We know they're alive, but they don't have a central nervous system. They don't have a brain like we do. They don't communicate the way we do. And so we do naturally, or no, I wouldn't say naturally. We are taught to look at them as lesser than, for whatever reason. And look, I'm going to be honest. Like, think about this. I know some of y'all be like, no, Chris, I love plants. Okay, think about this. If there is a road that needs to go north, and north is a whole bunch of trees and forests and plants, do we think twice about cutting everything down and just simply building our road? No, we don't. No, we don't. So that's what I'm talking about. In other countries and other cultures, they have enough respect for the plants and the animals and everything to at least uproot and replant them. They'll move trees and things out of the way. Yes, it's extremely time consuming, but that's what you do when you have respect for all creatures, all living creatures. Now, here's the reason why I'm telling y'all all of this and why I'm saying this. If we understand that plants aren't just simply plants, if you understand that plants can think, if you understand that they can experience emotion, if you understand that they are intelligent and sentient, I know it sounds crazy. I know, but just hold on. If you can understand that, then it makes sense that in a localized region, a plant understanding its job may have specialized nutrients for the environment in that localized region. So we have been taught and deceived to believe that plants aren't any of these things, and they're just stupid and they're dumb and they just grow and they're just part of the ecosystem, and they're not. You can run them over, you could cut them down, you could do whatever, it doesn't matter. But if we're wrong, then we're missing out on something special, a very special relationship that other cultures seem to have, right? And one thing that I'm telling you is your plants in local regions can have nutrients specifically for you, okay? So that's the point. You got it. All right. So in these different cultures that kind of consume local food and they grow it on themselves and they maintain it themselves, we do see that their life expectancy goes up dramatically. In my opinion, that's what's called outcomes. Like, who's getting better outcomes? We see a very, very low rate of obesity. We see an increase of life expectancy. And then we see an increase of quality of life with age. Whereas here in America, where we don't have any of these practices or beliefs, we see the opposite. We see early death and we see quality of life decline much more rapidly. Okay, so now I think the thing to understand is that no one told us that we have to be old to die. We just simply adopted that ideology based on the propaganda that we've been accustomed to from, our government and different agencies and systems that we're exposed to. They lead us to believe that we have to be old to die, meaning the signs of old age and everything that comes along with that. You have to experience that as you decline in age or whatever, as you get up in age. And the reality is that's not true. The death process can happen just simply because you're ready to leave this plane. You don't have to necessarily get old and get lung damage or liver damage or heart damage or whatever the case may be. When they talk about dying of natural causes, it's not just going to sleep and giving up the ghost as what we would have done in past. It's heart failure, it's lung failure, it's cardiac arrest. It's something something failing, right? Okay, so that makes sense to me. So we see better outcomes, eat locally. Now, if we had to put a name on the dietary strategy that's going to help you not only lose weight, but also increase quality of life, longevity, and also decrease your risk of disease, what I would call it is the alkaline diet. I really do like the Dr. Sebi approach when it comes to the dietary strategy. I have tried many different diets. Most of them I tried as I was transitioning to what I do now, which is really just a plant-based diet. The alkaline diet was one of them. I did not do like carnivore, but I did do, your traditional American diet, and you got your vegetarian diet, and then I did the alkaline diet as well as different blended diets that I just kind of like came up with myself, like Mediterranean and things of that nature. Um, and I found that the alkaline diet was the best for health and wellness that I personally tried. I'll say that it's. I'm gonna say this. There any diet that you all choose that is a whole food based diet is going to be better than probably the traditional diet that you might be on now, like that standard American diet. But what I found was through researching other people, like listening to other people, I find that, sorry, got some dust. I find that a lot of people on, let's say, like the carnivore diet, I talked about the ketogenic diet a few weeks ago. Depending on how you guys do those diets, there are plateaus. Okay. I have not found a plateau on the alkaline diet, but I will say what I did find. I found like a level of difficulty to maintain it, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say fear, but there's a lot of misinformation. Not really people understanding what the alkaline diet is, but I never found the tip top where it just stopped working or it was not having a impact. So you take that as you may. You might be on the keto diet. I have nothing against the keto diet. I have nothing against the carnivore diet. Do what works for you. I'll just say, if you find that you peak out or that you start to lose benefit, then you might want to consider something like the alkaline diet. And then from there, I made adjustments. My personal dietary strategy, I made adjustments to something that I would say is more sustainable. What is the alkaline diet? It's basically just eating foods that are minimally processed. They're natural foods, and the goal is to maintain the body's pH balance. Okay. Whatever the body's natural pH balance is. The only way to really determine what the body's natural pH balance is to eat natural foods and just simply allow the body to be. Anytime we're consuming an excess of processed foods, we're going to throw our body out of alignment with what is natural, and we're going to get bad readings. So when we look at like traditional diets and the information that's being taught, we are studying as a collective, we're studying people that are already out of alignment with nature to begin with. And we're using those people as a baseline for health, which is the reason why we see such variation in results. We get more consistent results if we were doing things properly, which would be to study people who are healthy, people who have optimal health, and then create our baselines off of that. That's not what we do. So the alkaline diet just simply makes sense because that's what we would have done, hundreds of years ago. We would have eaten what was natural in the environment, not what was mass produced, not what was shipped from other places. And then, of course, not what was manipulated through, gene modification and things of that nature. Okay. So in 2012, a study was published in the Journal of Environmental and Public Health that found that the alkaline diet may actually improve bone density and reduce the risk of chronic disease. So when we talk about chronic disease, even though we don't look at obesity as a chronic disease, it is. It is a chronic disease. I mean, depending on how your fat is shaped on your body, you might be looked at as thick, you might be looked at as pleasantly plump, you might be looked at one way or the other. But the reality is it's too much weight on the body. And when you have too much weight on the body starts to slowly degrade. So it's important to understand that, yeah, obesity is a chronic disease, as well as diabetes, cancer, heart disease, so on and so forth, right? So the alkaline diet has been shown to reduce, and you can find a study, you can find statistics for anything. But what I found personally is, as I started fasting and then coming off using the alkaline diet, I noticed that it was helping me to continue to lose or maintain my weight loss, depending on where I was in my journey. Also, the other issues, like I never fasted really for weight loss, but the other issues I was dealing with, I either continued to see improvement or I was able to maintain my results, the benefit I got from fasting with alkaline foods. As a matter of fact, I realized that when I stopped eating the alkaline foods, sometimes some of the issues that I thought I like resolved would start to creep back slowly. And so what that taught me was that the diet played a bigger role in overall healing. And also, we shouldn't be so quick to necessarily say that we've healed ourselves of something, because when you've healed yourself of something, it goes away, it's gone. It doesn't come back because of your dietary changes. But that helped me understand that there was deeper healing that needed to be done. And that's why I said at the beginning, you're not going to change your diet and just that's the end all be all. You got to detox, you got to fast, you got to use a blended array of therapies, depending on what outcome you want. I was actually just talking about my grandmother. You guys, I did a tribute to my grandma like last week. I went to her funeral this past weekend, and I was talking to my family. I was also talking to the Pam group earlier about how, she passed at 94. She didn't change her diet until she was like 64 or after the age of 64. Now, one thing that I think, and I'm just going off of what I've heard my grandmother say and what she's talked about. I never really heard her talk about detoxification the way that I do. And I never really saw her doing that. I don't know if she did or not. I didn't know everything, but I surmised that she did not focus on detoxification. And in the latter part of her life, she started to slow down tremendously. She started to have issues. She would fall and kind of injure herself. And, I mean, you could see that there was a decline. Now, she was approaching her 90s at the time before any of that started happening. So that's not to say that what she did was in vain, because she outlived anybody else that I personally know of. And she had a higher quality of life as she got to that point. The doctors were shocked that she was not on any medication. That was like a big thing for her to be that age and not be on medication. But what I'm saying is she did experience a decline in her health towards the end of her life. And I believe that was because she put good habits on top of a bad foundation. My grandmother had either had PCOS and or endometriosis. She didn't tell me. This is me looking back on pictures and understanding what that looks like, looking back on interactions and understanding what that sounds like. And I'm now understanding, okay, this is what she was dealing with. She never told me this, but I just know. She was obese at one point, and she had several other issues that she just never disclosed. And maybe it's because she never got diagnosed. I don't know. But I do know something inspired her to change her habits. But the point is, if you just change your diet, yes, you're going to see benefits. You're going to lose weight. You're going to get healthier. You're going to feel better. You're going to extend your longevity. You're going to improve your quality of life. But the real key is really detoxification on top of that. Like, do them both. Don't skip the detox. It's very important. All right. What else we got? Processed foods versus natural foods. It's important to understand the difference. So we talked about the alkaline diet as minimal processing. Well, processing is just one of those words that can mean so much. If I go to my backyard and I collect a pound of apples and I skin them and I cut them and I put them in my juicer, I have minimally processed that apple and turned it into apple juice. I'm separating the fiber from the juice. There's a big difference in that, the way it looks and the way it tastes and the way the body digests it, right? So even with that, it seems like a small thing, but it's a lot. A lot has been done, but that's what we would consider minimally processed. I could then cook those apples and make a, I could still skin them, peel them. I could cook them and make like baked apples, and that would be minimally processed. But the reality is, these are the concepts when we talk about minimally processed things. So that's minimally processed. When I talk about processed foods, this is not what I'm talking about. Okay. So we talk about processed foods versus natural foods. With minimally processed foods, what you're doing is you're maximizing the nutritional benefit. So when we're processing foods and you still are getting maximum nutritional value from them, or you're processing them in a way to give you like a specific outcome that's going to be beneficial, that's all good. When you process foods that are ultra processed, so that's the other side of the spectrum, you have something that doesn't even look like food anymore. Well, it technically is not food. All right, so let's take that same idea. We took the apples, we skinned it, we put it in a juicer, we made apple juice. You drink it, it's delicious, it's refreshing, it's nutritious. Conversely, you can go to the store and you can buy a bottle of apple juice or a carton of apple juice from the refrigerated section with all the other juices. You drink that, and that is not juice at all. It's called apple juice because of, I guess, a technicality, but it's not apple juice at all. You'll find most of it doesn't, if it contains apple juice, a very small amount, maybe from concentrate. But what happens is when you look at the processing, you go to a processing plant, and you look at how you start with apples, but you end up with this product, this very uniform product. They have done so much stripping to the apple or the apple juice that it's unrecognizable, not just by you, but by the body. It's important to understand that when the body can't recognize what it's digesting, it doesn't digest it well. And when the body doesn't digest something well, it leads to fat storage. The body's got to figure out what to do with this. If you're not able to pull the nutrients out of it, if you're not able to digest it properly, the body's got to do something with it, store it as fat. It's like an overflow area. You know what I mean? So we have to kind of look at our dietary strategy and our habits like that. When we eat things that the body can't recognize, it just put it in that pile over there, the fat storage pile. Okay. So this is the reason why doing something like eating the alkaline diet is so beneficial, because you're eating foods that are real foods. The body knows exactly what it is, and the body has a way to digest that. Now think about like what we do to our foods as it relates to gene modification or spraying with pesticides. When we make food that is impervious to sun, wind, water, and bugs, right? Basically, when we make a food impervious to nature, what are we doing? We are making it impervious to the microbiome. We're making it impervious to the heat and the stomach acid. We're making it impervious to the natural processes that the body uses to break that stuff down, extract nutrients, and expel the waste. It's no wonder we deal with obesity, right? Because we're not eating real foods. It's no different from expecting to eat a rock and think you're going to extract nutrients from it and digest it properly, and it's going to have no negative impact on you. We all know that's not going to work. You cannot eat rocks. You cannot eat rocks. And the crazy thing about it is we know that, and yet we have food manufacturers that will put rocks, metal, wood, and all kinds of substances in our food that we cannot digest. They're called fillers. Yeah, to make the product appear more than what it is, to make you feel more satiated than you really are, to make it seem like you're getting a better deal. They will put fillers in the food. One of the first times that I realized this was back in the day before I left Cincinnati. Shout out. My brother Steven, he worked at Taco Bell for like, I think it was like a day. It was either a week or a day. And I think it was a day. But what came of that was me coming to the knowledge that they used wood sawdust as a filler in their meat. When We all know you eat Taco Bell, you get the bubble guts. If you need to have, if you're backed up, just have some Taco Bell. Okay. Taco Bell is great for moving the bowels. It's not real food. It's not real food. And this is how fast food restaurants stay competitive. Okay. This is what we call ultra processed food. So yes, it does include when you add things like fillers in there. Like that is ultra processing. That's part of that process. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. So it gets stored in places. You might find that you have joint problems from eating processed food too much. Why? Because when you have microscopic dust and particles and particulates and crystals building up in your system and the body can't digest it, it doesn't know what to do with it, it puts it wherever it can, including your joints, your muscle, your tissue. Okay? It'll go wherever it'll go. It'll go in your eyes. It'll go anywhere it can. The body just got to do what the body got to do. What is it? It's not the body's fault. It's not the body's fault. It's our fault. We need to know what we're putting in our body. All right. So 60% processed foods are going to account for 60% of the average American diet. That's insane. 60% of our diet. 60%. I'm going to tell you right now, that number is low. It is much higher. It's much higher. But see, we like to play games with numbers and we like to play games with statistics and we have standards for things. And so you're not getting good, clean information. But I'll tell you from my personal observation, which is not a study, but I'm going to tell you it's 80% easily. It's easily 80%. 80% of our diet. How do I know? Because it correlates with the rate of being overweight in America, and it correlates with the rate of obesity. How is only 60% of our diet processed foods when we've got 80% of people that are overweight? When you eat natural foods, you don't gain weight, y'all. Unless you have some other very specific issue going on with you that could have been caused by a multitude of other things. When you eat natural foods, you don't gain weight. It was only just probably less than 100 years ago, you could see people walking around New York City and everybody's slim. No one's even overweight. No one's even overweight. Not to mention obese. Okay. And now you look at our cities walking around and the mass majority of people are obese. So we flipped. So here's my thing when it comes to dietary strategy. Now, I've talked about eating natural foods, whole foods, alkaline foods being natural foods, and things that are going to help to maintain that natural balance in the body. What it really boils down to, if I'm being honest, is digestion. Okay. Why is an Oreo problematic as it relates to your weight loss journey? Because it's vegan, right? That's the whole big thing is veganism. Veganism's a healthy thing, right? So why is an Oreo a problem? Well, because it is an ultra processed food, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I bet most of y'all can't name one real food that is in an Oreo. No, there's nothing there. But ultimately the problem is the microbiome can't break it down. We can't digest it. So in a perfect world where you can eat anything you want, you have perfect digestion. But there are some things you could do to increase your digestion of unnatural foods, right? Just tools that can help the body move stuff out through stimulating a certain response. See, when you eat the food, when you smell the food, when you cook the food, when you salivate, these are all natural responses to real food, and it's starting the digestive process. When you're dealing with unnatural food, your body doesn't do all of these things, and so you don't get that proper digestion. So you can do things to trigger the body to imitate digestion, kind of, It's like laxatives, like taking castor oil, using a castor pack is one of the reasons why I started selling castor packs. One of the reasons it's like great for moving the bowels. It's a very gentle way to keep the bowels moving. And look, here's what I've learned from working with you all for so long. You guys have a genuine desire to want to be healthy, lose weight, do better, but you also are human beings. Everybody I've worked with is a human being, fallible, okay? So life happens, you know, unexpected things, situations happen, people stumble, they fall, they make mistakes, whatever the case may be. So if we have a great tool belt that's going to help us to solve these problems or help us hurdle these problems, it makes sure that we're moving in the right direction even when we make mistakes. So I will tell you all, the castor pack is a great option for, you know, let's say that you, all right, Chris, I want to do the alkaline diet, and you start really learning and understanding what that is, and you're like, man, this is a lot of work, right? And it takes time to transition. It takes time to understand the diet and whatever. And also, just because you're doing the diet doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily see benefit from everything you consume. There are certain things, even though they're on the quote unquote alkaline diet, that won't work well with your body. That's why it's important, like I said at the beginning, pay attention. Okay, pay attention to your body and how it reacts. But the reality is, when something doesn't react the way you expect, you can use a tool like a castor pack. You just literally take a tablespoon of the oil, put it on the pack, rub it in a little bit, put it on your liver, sleep with it. Sleep with it overnight, take it off in the morning. That'll help keep your bowels regular. That'll help keep your liver clean. And it's not going to happen overnight. Like it's not like you do it one time and you're all clean, you're good to go. Okay. It's a thing you do every night. You know what I mean? And honestly, depending on what you're dealing with and what you want to use the castor pack for, you can actually imagine, like if you've had an issue for a long time, for like several years, it's going to take longer for the castor pack to have an impact on it. But as it relates to like as a laxative to help keep the bowels moving and stuff, that does happen pretty much overnight. So I'm gonna put the link for that in the chat. If you guys need a castor pack, if you don't have one, it's a great tool you could use as you're transitioning. If you make mistakes, the other thing too is when you have these tools and this understanding, you can do things that you know your body's not going to digest well. You could preemptive strike. You can know, okay, I'm gonna go on a trip. I'm going to eat some things. Look, when I went back to Cincinnati for my grandmother's funeral, I went to Buskin's Bakery. Okay. Buskin's my grandfather used to bring glazed donuts to the house like every day, virtually every day, Monday through Friday. He got me hooked on Buskin's. I'm not going to lie. And then I found out about cake slices. They make these cakes, and then when they have stuff left over, people didn't pick up, they would cut it up and sell it for $1. It's $3 now, by the way. Okay, hustle up, Buskins. But yeah, I went and had some of those cake slices because it's the best cake that I ever eat. And I don't eat cake normally. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have some Buskins, right? Well, I also was like, okay, I'm gonna take something to help flush that out of my system. So when I got back home, because I didn't take it with me, I had some Restore. Okay, Restore is designed to help open up the elimination pathways, help you flush out. I use my tools. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and it's okay to make those decisions. I do the right thing the mass majority of the time, but we talk about like our diets being so restrictive and everything. They're really not. You just need to understand like what's the goal, what's the end game. You want to have good, healthy digestion. You want to maintain your weight loss. You want to increase your quality of life. Well, when you eat something bad, do a therapy. Do something to help get that stuff out. Because with proper digestion, you can literally avoid the negative effects of a lot of this stuff. Yeah. Real bakery. And you know, the thing too about a real bakery, a local bakery is it is going to be less processing. You know, it's still a processed food or item, but it's less processed than a Hostess cake, right? Like it's, you know, it's like we got to make higher quality decisions when it comes to our eating habits. And it's not about being, you know, constricted. It's about understanding how the body works and supporting it. So when you have a healthy micro butt, I always say that I don't know why I say micro butt. What is that? It's a small butt, but it's smaller than small. It's a micro butt. Microbiome, the gut microbiome, when it processes properly, it's going to process your food about 50% more efficiently. Having a healthy gut microbiome, you can't be understated. It processes 50% more efficiently. That's insane. 50% better outcomes. 50% increases on your money or whatever, your relationship health. Insert whatever you want. 50% is insane, right? So we want to maintain that. Now, when it comes to the sugars, okay, you have natural sugars, you have unnatural sugars, just like you have natural foods and processed foods. Sugar is one of those things that it's tricky for a lot of people. I have made sugar very simple. And I want you guys to do this too. Just like do your research, figure out what sugars you like. Okay, you've got coconut sugar, date sugar, agave, stevia, monk fruit, etc., etc., etc. Just go start trying these different sugars. Try them, see the taste, see how it incorporates into your baked goods or into your food or into your tea. Find the ones that make the most sense for you. Now, me personally, something like stevia has never resonated with me. I know a lot of people like stevia. I don't know. Stevia just does not resonate with me, y'all. I just never mess with it. But I do like agave, but also I find that if I consume too much agave, it makes my stomach hurt. So that's something you guys got to understand. Like your body will give you feedback. And it might be because of how concentrated it is and certain products that I put it in, just taking in too much at once, or it could be something with agave. I haven't quite figured it out, but I did stop using agave nearly as much. I don't use agave not nearly as much as I used to. And that's me just being honest, right? That was my interaction with it. You might have a different interaction with it. Stevia didn't resonate. Agave, when I consumed too much of it, it made my stomach hurt. I've never had an issue with honey, date sugar, or coconut sugar. So those seem to be good options for me. But you guys figure out what makes sense for you, but you want something minimally processed. And, you know, I found lots of different solutions when it comes to sugar. But if you're getting sugar from a natural food, you're pretty much good to go. You know, you're pretty much good to go. If you want to use sugar cane, that's great. But what you can't do is use the white granulated sugar. Now, that is the equivalent when we were talking about the apple juice example. The white granulated sugar is the equivalent of the apple juice in the refrigerated section in the carton. Like, it's not going to be healthy, good, or beneficial in any way. It's sweet, but it doesn't resemble anything known to food. It's just not food. You could call it a drug, but it's not a food. So, you know, when natural sugars are paired with fiber, it's going to slow the absorption and it's going to help to regulate blood sugar levels, unlike with your refined sugars, where you're going to see spikes of glucose levels. So anytime you're eating a natural sugar that is in its natural state, an apple, a grape, or whatever, we don't have to worry. Like, a lot of people are worried when they're diabetics and things. Are like, can I have the sugar? It's like, but you'll eat a cookie though. You'll eat a processed sugar. But when I tell you to eat the grapes, you're like, it's too much sugar. All sugar is not created equal. The way the body processes and digests sugar is not the same. And so for those who, you know, want to look at this, and maybe you don't eat sugar because you're scared. You've been scared of all sugar. I would say try some natural sugar and just simply see how your body responds to it. Don't allow someone else to tell you what is right for you or what's wrong for you. Be a little scientist. Do some experimentation. You know, eating an apple is not the craziest experiment I've ever seen. I also, like, on my gardening journey, I got to come across a guy who teaches the back to Eden method, Paul Gauchi, I think is his last name. And he would have people that came to the farm with different issues like allergies and sensitivities and things of that nature. And I remember the story he told of a little boy that came to his farm who couldn't eat apples. They said that he was allergic to apples or fruit sugar or something like that. And of course, Paul was like, you're not allergic to the apple. You're allergic to what's in the apple. We're talking pesticides, the processing, the preservatives, the coating. You know, Bill Gates has that new appeal coating. You are allergic to that or something in that, not the apple itself. And of course, the child had the apple and he was jumping up and down for joy because for the first time he's able to eat an apple without a reaction. So if you do have a reaction to fruit and stuff like that, it's probably not the fruit. It's probably the processing of the fruit because we can process our fruit. When you put an appeal coating on a fruit, it's now went from being a whole food to a processed food. Isn't that crazy? And we do minimally process our fruits anyway. You know, all the fruits, you could put the wax coating and stuff on them. So they're all minimally processed anyway, even though they look like a whole food. Isn't that crazy? Like you have to take the coating off of it first before you consume it a lot of times. But that type of stuff's important to know. So I'm going to cap this by saying, look, make eating healthy enjoyable. There's nothing about this that has to be boring or uninspiring or bland. It's important to take time, learn how to eat healthy, but also put the time and energy in how to make it taste good. Like that's a really important piece. Why? Because this is a lifestyle change. So if you don't enjoy what you're eating, you're not going to be able to maintain it, or it's going to make it hard to maintain it, which means that you're going to lose the progress that you've made. You're not going to lose weight as easily. It's going to be a struggle. But if you can adopt this as a lifestyle change and really just make it something that this is what I do now, then you're going to get more out of it. It's going to be more seamless. You're going to enjoy it. You're not going to want to go back to the old ways. You're going to think more clearly. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have better bowel movements. You're going to lose weight. You're going to have everything, right? It all comes along with it. So what I want to say is, in order to kind of aid in that journey of eating better, being healthier, making it fun, I did create a cookbook. All right. The cookbook that you guys have been asking for years is finally available. It is on pre-sale, but it will be shipping extremely soon because I was able to finalize the sample and everything. And I already have the first batch on the way. So if you guys want to grab one of the cookbooks, I'm going to put the link here in the chat. It's called Almost Alkaline, Cook Your Way to Better Health. It is designed to help transition you from a standard diet to the alkaline diet. It is not an alkaline cookbook. It is that midway point, which I think is where most people live. It also helps for people who have been on the alkaline diet and now that part of their journey is over and they want something to settle on as far as what can I eat every day to be healthy, maintain, and continue to see the benefits of what I did from eating the alkaline diet. This is a great place to settle because once you have done the detoxification, you've lost the weight, you reverse the disease, it's not hard for the body to maintain on something like a transitional diet. Because the systems are all upregulated. The digestive system works properly. Nothing's getting clogged or stuck up. So as long as you're not eating synthetic foods at that point, you're good to go. So whether you're transitioning to the alkaline diet or transitioning off the alkaline diet, this is the book for you, Almost Alkaline. Link is in the description box. And they'll be shipping probably next week. So sooner than you think, maybe. I don't know. All right. I'm about to wrap up. I'm gonna check here for any questions. If we don't have any questions, I'm going to shut her down. Microbut. Yep, looks like we didn't. Okay, what's this? What do you think about vegan keto versus high carb, low fat? Well, you know, I want to say vegan keto is where I would lean. But then it just really depends on how you define vegan. When it comes to veganism, my problem with veganism holistically is just the processed food. So that's why today I spent a lot of time talking about like processed foods versus natural foods. I don't have any problem with veganism if you approach it from if you still hold these standards, which is really you want to stay away from the processed foods. And in that case, the vegan keto would win, right? If you're doing traditional like like modern vegan where you have a lot of processed foods, then I'm gonna lean you towards the high carb, low fat. It's really just it's which diet has less processed foods. When it comes to dietary strategy, it's not complex at all. The more natural foods you eat, the better. The reason why ketogenic works is because of the influx of whole foods that you consume. The reason why carnivore works is because of the whole foods you consume, right? The same thing with the plant-based whole foods and any other diet that consumes a lot of whole food. It's about the way the body digests. That's really it. And then also, remember earlier we were talking about like upregulating the liver, and you want to be able to extract nutrients from the food you eat. Look, you guys can eat the most superfood in the world that you want. You can eat superfood blueberries, superfood kale, superfood whatever. But if your liver is low functioning, it doesn't matter, right? You're not getting anything out of it. You're getting very little out of it. I mean, it's better than the processed stuff, yeah, but you're still going to have deficiencies. So we have to detox. We have to upregulate the liver. We have to get more functionality out of our body and our system because we've been damaging it for so long. And then once we start eating on these healthier diets, you'll see a massive benefit that you probably never saw before. If you guys are eating a diet that you think should be doing something that is not doing, you probably need to focus on detox. So what I was talking about earlier. So fasting comes into play, right? It's a form of detox. You could use something like a castor pack as detox. You could use something like Restore to help you detox. There's plenty of herbs that you could do. You could literally go outside. This is how easy nature has made it for us. You could literally go outside where all those dandelions are and try to get the root, you know what I'm saying? Try to get it, boom, pull it out, turn it into a tea and just drink that tea. And that will help you detox. Like nature has made it so easy for you. It's just, we be looking for like the most complex answers, but the answers are actually really simple. Hi, Chris. Just started the 14-day herbal detox. Would this be adequate preparation for a 4-day dry fast? Sure. Yeah. I really like the 2-week detox for prepping for dry fast. How to deal with bloating while fasting, bloating that causes shortness of breath. That's very specific, but what I usually try to tell you guys to do is to start your detoxification before you start fasting. I think that was kind of part of that question there. Because when you start fasting, it can make things worse. Like, just be honest. Like, it can make things worse. Understand that fasting is like going on nature's operating table. So sometimes before you go in for surgery, the doctor's going to tell you, hey, stop doing this, stop doing that, don't drink this, don't eat that before you come in for surgery, right? And that's essentially the same thing with fasting. I would recommend that you adopt a preparation, and you guys can find our 7-day prep on healthyalternative.org. Just go to healthyalternative.org, and on the front page, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we give you a free prep. And just do that before you start doing your fasting. And that should help. Last one. Is it okay to alternate between water and dry for 40 days? Is it okay? Yes, it's okay. I will tell you that is a very extreme cycle. But if you could do it, it's fine. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan. This is just my own personal opinion. I don't have anything behind this besides literally my own personal feelings. I don't like the idea of going from water to dry that close together. I don't like the idea of shocking my system every other day like that. So I like to put I like to put time in between my shifts. I do have a hybrid fast, and maybe I'll do a live stream this week talking about hybrid fasting. But my recommendation is actually to give yourself, like, for example, if you're to do 3 days, this is for an example, 3 days of water and then a day of dry, or 2 days of dry, and then transition, and then 3 days of water, and kind of like that. But the every other day thing, just not a big fan of. Okay. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking with me tonight. I'll see about coming back in a couple of days or a day or so. Maybe we'll do the hybrid. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to see what I'm in the mood to talk about. Haven't talked about the hybrid fasting in a while, so maybe we'll do that. Like I said, for those listening after the fact, link for the cookbook will be in the description box. And that's it. As always, the application of knowledge is power. I'll see you all in the next live stream. Peace.
Alkaline.